check out the theme for today. The theme is Unleashing the AI Chain Revolution, Potential of Integrating Generative AI with Blockchain. So I understand AI is no more a new term or a new technology for anyone. Most of the industries are already utilizing it on a daily basis, but a particular aspect of AI that we call generative AI is something that is taking almost every industry with excitement as well as curiosity. And today's discussion will be mostly around this particular aspect of AI, that is generative AI. That will be our core theme of the event. Now, I have been told and reminded again and again that we have very limited time, so I will try to respect those boundaries, and we will rightly get into the discussion. And my first question today is for George. First of all, a big round of applause. So George, we all would like to start off by understanding in what industries is this generative AI, or to be broad, AI, is actually showcasing its potential or actually is kind of changing or impacting it a lot. So what are those industries right now which are facing true transformation because of this AI?
Actually, there's a whole multitude of industries that are facing this transformation. Probably the biggest industry that many of you are here or have some interaction with is the public relations and the content creation industry. Generative AI is actually massively disrupting this industry. What it really means is that the job that was normally done by 10 people can now be done by one person, because that person can actually do the job at 10 times the speed that he was able to do before. Now, generative AI is basically a simple technology in which there's actually many versions, but we call this usually like large language models. The generative AI that is most popular today is something known as ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a unique technology for many reasons, but one I think the most important is user acceptance. It's the first technology that went from 100 to, or from 0 to 100 million users in 2 months. I don't think there's been any technology that any of you know that has reached such a level of adoption in a short period of time. And why was that the case? Because the grandmother could use it. The security guard at the back of the room can use it. It's very user-friendly and very straightforward. The first versions of it, what they did is they took the contents of the internet up to 2019, 21, 22, 23, and pumped it up as a knowledge base to generate the contents. So that content is based on the data that is being used. But that is only, I think, the 1% value of what ChatGPT is. Now imagine what we can do in today's enterprise. It doesn't matter, agriculture, for example, tourism, because tourism is very important here, education, oil and gas, banking, and so on. All these organizations have massive amounts of data that today is stored in traditional relational databases, file folders, and so on. You take this data, you run it through large language model, and you make that data transformed into a ChatGPT available to every employee in the company. All of a sudden, the average employee in the company can work at 2 times, 3 times, 5 times the speed that he was able to. So the industry that can be transformed, especially here in the region, definitely education, banking, healthcare, oil and gas, and tourism, real estate, just to name a few.
Right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, George. So, having understood that generative AI, as we all understand, in whatever industry we are, is definitely playing a key role now. It is definitely a discussion on table. Now, since this conference is all about Web3, and we have somebody on the panel who is into core blockchain engineering, as I can say. So Ramani, the next question is to you. You know, how do you see generative AI or AI changing blockchain-related models, and how do you see its integration there?
What was the last line again? Sorry, I missed that. How do you see?
How do you see AI right now in the current spectrum of Web3 or blockchain, where do you see that AI can actually play a key role from day one? We don't have to wait for it, let's say, 5 years or 10 years.
No, great question, Sunil. So I think early days, right? Sorry, my throat is messed up. Too many conferences the last 6 weeks, so I don't know which time zone I'm in, so apologies for. I think the near-term use cases are primarily going to be UI, UX related, is what I feel. Right now, let's say you want to, just getting the basic DeFi experience is pretty forbidding for somebody who's not from Web3. You got to download MetaMask, and then you got to set up gas allowances for swapping on one chain. Let's say you want to do you have a yield farm on Polygon, and let's say you want to go to BSC, right? It's a pretty complicated process. And I think in the near term, where AI might help is sort of abstracting that out into something like a ChatGPT or a language-based interface where you go in and say, okay, these are my assets, and where do I get the maximum yield today, right? And then you bring in concepts like account abstraction, and then you have cross-chain solutions like router, etc., that sort of make that happen, and then pushes back all the complexity down under the hood. So I think near term, a lot of it's going to be UI, UX, and getting more folks from Web 2 into Web 3, and that's not a bad thing. That's something that the industry needs, right? More long term, it gets more interesting, primarily because just think about having a completely decentralized learning model, and the current blockchain paradigm of linear blockchains, does that even support that propagation that LLMs need at an exponential scale, or is it something like a Hedera or a Hashgraph or a DAG that is better suited for that sort of a exponential natural learning model, right? So those are more fundamental long-term questions. Near-term, I think a lot of UI, UX enhancements are going to be driven by AI.
Awesome. So now we do understand AI would come up with its own challenges, right? We will see as we move ahead, as we see more adoption, that changes related to cyber attacks, changes related to other kind of potential threats would be there. So we have again on panel Mr. Igor, and he is a cybersecurity expert, no doubt. So my next question is to you, that I am sure your clients may be reaching out to you with this AI stuff, I'm sure about that. But what kind of threats or what kind of potential risks you see right now if we go ahead with exponential adoption curve right now?
Yeah, they're definitely reaching out to us. I personally think that in terms of security, there's being overwhelmingly acceptance of AI, and acceptance of what it does is a fact. It's accepted, and as a fact that actually we find a lot of flaws in information. So we're a security company, and we want to make sure that we preserve the Web3, the blockchain as a whole. So we still think that it's in early stages in terms of implementation of security, but in steps like identifying fraud and using this on the chain is transparent, allowing it to kind of have a huge abundance of information which can be used for purpose of identifying and pinpointing fraudulent activities. And AI is actually being used in that direction in a great way. So in the near future, I think it's only going to get better. But at this point, we're looking into how implementing AI and how to actually have it work proactively in terms of identifying fraudulent vulnerabilities or anything else that can make the Web3 a safer place. I think right now it can't, because it still lacks a bit of logic in it. But in the near future, we're really hopeful and kind of optimistic about it.
Awesome. All right. So how many of you have digital avatars? I have. Okay, all right. So though these digital avatars right now not maybe They are not AI actually, but yeah, they are digital versions of ourselves. And somehow, maybe on-chain or off-chain, they are getting some sort of training, right? They are getting some sort of our data back. So my next question is to Vaibhav. So Vaibhav, I mean, do you have an avatar, digital avatar?
I don't use it because my Web2 personality or presence is much more larger. So I still want to continue that into the Web3 space. And it is each to his own on how they want to use that. Now, because I am in the space of growth and partnerships, my wife is actually the founder and I support her at Cryptonite UAE. But when it comes to digital identity or the avatar, was it a close-ended question or you wanted me to just...
No, you complete.
You wanted to talk more about it, right? So at one point of time, most of us didn't know what we were really doing, right? We were kind of confident, but not that confident enough that we could go home and tell our parents or tell our friends what we are doing. I'm sure we all remember the time when we heard about Bitcoin and started believing in Bitcoin, and when we went to our friends and when we... Do we all remember that moment? Are we all Bitcoin believers here? Right? Now, Maxi, right? Now, do you remember the time when you actually went on to someone and said, bro, Bitcoin? Do we all remember the time? The guys there? Yeah? Everyone? Right? So, and what did most of us face? Like, dude, shut up. Right? You're cuckoo. Right? Did anybody else face saying, oh, bro, I love it. I mean, did you face that? You did? Lovely. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll see. So most of us, right, even on this panel and even in the audience and even beyond the, extending to the guys in the food area, we all had this problem that we were looked down upon. We were ridiculed, right? And now what happens is when we are trying something new, we need to bring in an identity so that we can be anonymous in more ways than one. And when we are anonymous, we would go all out and play. Most of us, actually, I would say that there are a couple of people in the panel, in the audience out there, who perhaps would know a little more than people in the panel here. But they are not here, they are there. And the only reason being, they are not that confident enough. But the moment that they have a mask and they are saying, you know what, this face or this identity is not being revealed, I can go out and I can talk. So it does enable you to go out and play and play a slightly riskier game. When I say risk over here, I mean it in a more positive way. I do not mean it in a negative way, to clarify that. So digital identity is, or rather was great at one point of time. As of now, if you're doing a project, it depends. Like if you're a founder of a project, like Varun there is a lawyer. Now imagine if he has a digital identity. He raised his hand. Now imagine if he goes out with his digital identity to him and he says, you know what, I will take care of your law, or I will take care of your legalities. Would you want to place your trust on somebody who just have a digital identity, so perhaps who's anonymous?
So Vaibhav, let's say you have a digital avatar, right? Right now, what are your expectations? What do you think in terms of future that if this digital avatar does this, then this is what I am kind of trying to train it for? Do you expect some sort of particular actions for the digital avatar to do in the future?
So I think a lot of them are working on that, which will really excite.
No, my question is, what you think?
Yeah. So I'm coming there. What would really excite me in terms of being digital avatar is where I can use it on any chain, on any game that I want to. Right? Any game that I'm playing, it could be an arcade game to a AAA game. It could be in A metaverse or B metaverse or C metaverse. That identity is constant throughout. That is one thing that will excite me.
Interoperability, basically.
interoperability is the way ahead. Without interoperability, we will not be able to grow in this space, right? We can't say, no, we will only create on BNB and we won't do this. Because of so many wallets, and especially when it comes to Web3, Web3 is all about collaboration and not competition. So interoperability is indeed the way ahead. There is no two thoughts on that. And I think if our digital identities can also be used in the Web2 space, with our banks, with our travel portals, with anything that we don't want to deal with ourselves, if our digital identity can be ML trained, where I don't have to sit and break my head explaining something to somebody, but my digital avatar can do it, I think that's a good day for me.
So let me ask this open question to the audience. How many of you are worried that someone will be able to copy your digital avatars? Is somebody actually worried about this factor? That if I create my digital avatar today, then maybe someone sitting somewhere will be easily able to copy it and kind of use it for their own purpose. Okay, one person there, right? Else nobody is worried about this?
I think today it can be copied, future it might not.
All right. Okay. So moving on into the session, so this is an open-ended question actually. This is a very big debate that we all have with us, that how do we mitigate the risks when it comes to ethics, when it comes to copyright issues, how are these going to be managed actually? And this is a kind of an open debate right now. Yeah. So my next question is to Vadim. Vadim, yeah. So the next question is kind of, to get into depth a bit more, to understand that how businesses are interacting and using AI right now. In that sense, the question is that how can businesses and innovators collaborate to unlock this full potential of generative AI? Is there a way businesses can, for example, if I'm a marketing business, you are a development company, then are there ways we all can utilize AI to kind of collaborate even better?
All right, thank you so much for a good question. Also, I think colleagues on this panel, they already covered majority of the basics for what is AI, what is blockchain, and how it could be collaborated. I want to point on one specific example, which is actually our own example, right? So I'm a founding partner of Cryptomeria Capital, which is VC, and we are investing into the project. But at the same time, I'm also founding partner of media called Metaverse Posts with almost 3 million monthly active users. I get to that company actually because previously I've been in Cointelegraph, and I used to learn a lot in the media, right? So how to manage the media, how to promote media, how to grow your user base. So when we started our new media less than 2 years ago, it was scratch, it was nothing, just idea. And the next thing, what we have created in a couple months, we have created, we call it AI writer, right? The mechanism actually, so it's a sort of product which we never release to the public. And we actually never promote media which are like AI generated or something like that, but we are using it, right? So that's actually what we do. And I can explain how it works, right? So it's a few stages of different language models. The first one is parse the whole internet about the hashtags and the requests which we put there. And on the second one, it's already generating the articles. The third one, the third model is generating, it's like polishing the whole article to be like more human language, to be interesting. The fourth one is generating the thumbnail, the picture for the article. And on the fifth step, you have a human, a real person, who's actually editor, right? So who is looking through the huge list of the articles which are ready to post anytime, and then to choose which one we need to choose, which one we want to post, add something, fact check it, because we cannot post like random thing which is in the internet, and only after that, post it. It saves us 5-time labor costs, which means, to generate the same amount of articles that we have on our media, we need to have 5 times more people writing the articles. So that's the first thing. Second, it gives us ability to scale the business in less than a year to the heights that we have at the moment. So that's the like real business use case which you're asking. I do believe there is a lot of hype around AI and how to like combine it with the Web3 and stuff like that. So first we need to try. I mean, probably it's our own personal approach. We need to try first. We need to see how it works, because what I have described to you right now, the whole like exact thing which is working, which you can try and go to the website and check like how it looks. It took us a while to try as well, to make some mistakes, to like make a pivot, and I can say that the whole product, which is like on the back ends of the media, it's not ideal. It's still not like a perfect, right? So it's a lot of things which is working today, but probably tomorrow you still have to be agile and change something, change the service provider, change the language model there. And we need to learn, we need to build, we need to try first, and then we need to use it. So in the end of the day, both AI and blockchain is the tools in the hands of people. So how we use it, how we utilize it, how we combine it, that's all in our hands. And then we need to see and try, of course, to make it better, make it useful, and of course, like it's a lot of use cases. So one more simple thing. Of course, like a media is my personal example. It's a lot of use cases which I already see, especially in the trading. We see a lot of use cases in healthcare, in the media, is social media as well, and stuff like that. So definitely it's a big future for this thing.
So let's kind of have an open audience vote. How many of you think that AI is an hype? How many here think AI is hype? And how many think AI will truly change the world? All right, AI will change the world. We have vote. All right, so let's move on to something really interesting. How many here have heard about real world asset tokenization, or let's say tokenization in general? Cool. So I have one question that I would like the panelists here to kind of give their takes on it, okay? But we have only 5 minutes each. So try to be specific about it. So the question is around tokenization in general. We want to kind of address it from through a lens of AI and generative AI, to be specific. The question is that in what ways do you foresee generative AI influencing the tokenization of assets, and what industries are likely to see the most significant impact? So we understand tokenization is done in many industries, right? We can tokenize music, we can tokenize, of course, real-world assets, we can tokenize real estate. But where do we see this particular AI playing a role in tokenization, and in which industries, to be specific? And George, I would like to start from you.
Well, I do believe that there's specific industries in which both AI and blockchain, being the tokenization aspect, can play an important role. So let me give you 2 or 3 examples. The first one that is very important for the region is definitely real estate. As you know, real estate can be tokenized. When you tokenize, you can also fractionalize. At the end of the day, the people that invest in real estate want to have 2 types of returns. One is a return associated with the exponential growth of real estate as it appreciates over time. And the second one is an operational, which is like a monthly return. So if you have a hotel, a school, a mall, an apartment, you get returns from operating that real estate. We do have actually here in Dubai AI called Realist. I'm not trying to promote that specific AI, but it actually deals with real estate. And what it does is it studies the various elements of attributes that identify which real estate has the more chance of growing up in value based on its location, based on demographics, based on access to transportation like metro and so on. So combining those 2 together, meaning that you have a much better chance at having better returns for the investors. But the same can apply to any other commodities, some simple commodities like sugar. So if you're optimizing the process of production and trading, then things change dramatically. Actually, one of the recent exchanges that has gone live in the region is an exchange that combines both digital assets as well as commodities. I can say the name, or maybe not.
Yeah, you can.
Slacks.io, but I'm not trying to promote this one over any others. But what is important today is that when we add assets or digital assets, like Bitcoin, it's only digital. There's nothing physical about it other than the electricity being used to produce that digital asset. But in real world assets, whether it's gold, oil and gas, real estate, the asset that is tokenized actually means something physical. So that means you can go in and claim, this is my asset. I want either the original asset or I want to sell that asset and get the returns associated with the asset, or I want to get the operational returns of using or running that asset. The same thing can be applied to oil and gas, gold, diamond trade, which is very important in the region, and many, many others.
Awesome. Igor, how you see AI impacting tokenization?
Interesting.
It is interesting.
So I'm the security guy on the panel, and we're talking about AI and real-world assets. I like what it's doing. I actually think it's going to improve. It's going to be able to manage and give us certain information. What I have to say from everybody what's being mentioned and how AI is being used and in real-world assets and everything else that it's doing, we're implementing it, we're using it in everything that we can possibly stick this in. And it's possibly like a hype with actual functionality. And it's actually a good tool. The problem that I'm seeing is that we're implementing it and it's being used by everything, and then we're trying to figure out, well, where's too much of it? Are we really being secure with it? Are the standards and ethics of implementation of this is really being accounted for? For Hacken, we have this philosophy that you embed elements of security and you embed everything that you do with secured mindset. So from the beginning, from the foundation, all the way through. And it's an ongoing thing. To me, it seems like right now, and this is a little bit off topic from what you said, I understand, but this is what I feel like I have to say. I think that we're using this and we're not taking into consideration of the consequences. So with something that is in our philosophy of security mindset first, we should keep that same philosophy with AI. We should consider what is ethics, what are the standards, and how we should, and how the data that is being used is actually properly used, so that we're not abusing this tool. So what I think is that it has a great potential, but we have to embed and implement levels of security by implementing the standards, utilizing ethical standards into it right now. Otherwise, everything that this tool is going to be used for, whether it's good or not so good, useful or not, it's going to have negative connotation. So right now, we definitely need to implement, so that way everything that we're discussing here is actually doable and it doesn't end up biting us in the rear.
Ramani, your take on this?
This is a fascinating discussion, and I'm just thinking that just getting warmed up. Unfortunately, there's only 12 minutes left, right? But, I'm just thinking as we're speaking, right? The safest way to keep your crypto safe is to put it in a cave under the ground, completely safe, right? Or something like this, so you can kidnap this guy and boom, you're so, the reality is, if you were a caveman 20,000 years ago, you're not at risk. I mean, obviously, there's some lion trying to kill you or whatever. So these technologies are like that, right? Whether you want to engage with AI, with cool Web3 technology, I mean, there's a plus side to it where you open up to a new world. The downside is you're exposed to a lot of risk, right? So which is where I think a lot of concepts around self-sovereign identity, boom, okay, check. Yeah. The concepts around self-sovereign identity and enhanced security, there's a lot of concepts that immediately come to the forefront the moment you talk about AI, not just in Web3, even in Web2, right? A couple of examples. One is, somebody's trying to sell you a pudgy penguin or a whatever the latest NFT is, right? And if it's coming in from Web2 and you see they send you a nice link with all the attributes and rarity and all that, and then you can maybe do one check. Somebody has told you, okay, check this address or something, and you're more likely to fall for it. I mean, that problem really compounds when you're talking about an avatar of, let's say, even an NFT of Taylor Swift or whatever that your daughter loves, and you have a special clip from her. And how do you sort of make sure the authenticity of that is a legit piece that you paid for, right? So that's one part of it. And on the other side, when you want to sort of go and buy assets. Oh, thank you.
We need a lot of basic tech before AI, clearly, right? So, self-healing microphones. But the other part of it is self-sovereign identity where, you're in a room, like I'm in a room right now, we're all in a room right now. Let's say you want to sort of connect with the 5 other BAYC holders in this room, right? And that's the only piece of info you want to reveal. So there could be so many interesting use cases that this whole Web3 decentralized framework lets you do in terms of being granular about the level of info that you want to sort of reveal out there. And I think a lot of those are going to be super important when you talk about tokenization of assets and how AI, etc., fit into it.
Awesome. So there is something interesting I want to share with you all. I was discussing generative AI with somebody in the industry. And after discussion and, of course, some shots of beer, we came to a conclusion that generative AI can be simplified and explained as gamification of work. How many of you agree to this, that generative AI is actually, in a way, gamification of work? All right, we will come back to that later.
Are you saying gamification of work?
Yes.
Oh.
Vadim,
So
what's
the
your
same
take on
question, right?
AI and tokenization? Yeah.
Tokenization, so I would say in that way. Since I'm professionally investing to the Web3, not the Web3, blockchain, crypto, then Web3, since 2017, I've seen thousands of decks from different projects and different use cases. And the most common mistake when, especially because we're focusing on the early stage, when projects or founders, they are using all these buzzwords in the same time, right? Just let's try to, take all these buzzwords and put in the same basket and then see how it works. So if AI and tokenization, how it works, I mean, honestly speaking, I don't see much of exact use cases, which is really scaling at the moment. Of course, AI is useful for identifying the trends, identifying, the patterns, and how it can be used, but at the same time, it should not be on the surface, right? So what you use internally, it's not something like you should always go and say, hey, we are AI company now. No, if you do tokenization, then you're basically focusing on your clients to serve them, and to fractionize or tokenize whatever you want to do. And of course, it's going to be a huge, massive trend of tokenization of almost everything. But let's go step by step. So I also have been the veteran, let's say, of STO times in 2018 when everyone, especially in the US, was talking about make a security tokens for this, make a security token for that. In the end, what we see now, I mean, there is nothing. So still, it's the cycles of adoption of, okay, where we literally need something rather than I think it should be here, right? So talking about tokenization and the whole, what I see that's projects and companies who are in crypto and building something on RWA, that's the main name for the tokenization in the crypto right now, they will face huge challenges competing with investment bankers who actually will sell the same thing. And recently, it's just occasionally it's happened. I've been on a couple of events talking with Franklin Templeton, with Standard Chartered, with HSBC, and guys like that. All of them are preparing, special packages and the services which they will offer to their clients. And they will be offering tokenization of whatever, property or piece of art or whatever, which is like a store of value, competing with somehow like competing with the Bitcoin. So how AI could be there, I cannot give you like exact answer, and I think I told you that it's more about like using AI as a tool to make things faster, transparent, and probably for the user, for the end user, what sort of thing we're also working on in our ecosystem, in our group of companies, it's a ZKML, which is like zero knowledge machine learning. This thing is probably interesting in my opinion, because if you use this, for the end user, it looks like, for example, just easy instance, that when you open the website, it will be fully made for you. Like, so let's say it's a customized thing, which is like, have buttons like you like, color which you like, and whatever fonts like you like. It's customized automatically by AI. And it could be done if you use your patterns and your, let's say, how we call it, cookies now, but without sharing cookies. And the company, with a centralized company, sell this data to the advertiser. So using this technology probably is interesting. Somehow it also can be used in the tokenization, which is like different variety of use cases. So let's see. Interesting question.
So let me share a very big use case right now. How many of you have used FriendStack? FriendStack? Come on, guys. If you haven't used it, you have to. That's like a real-world example of tokenizing celebrity identities on a platform on a large scale. So it's a takeaway from this panel, actually. If you haven't used FriendStack, use it. It will help you understand tokenization the best. Now, Vaibhav, how do you feel about this whole tokenizing celebrities using FriendStack? And will you be ready if let's say we were to tokenize your identity and then maybe share with the people?
Well, I think you don't take my identity because I'm too small. There are far more better people. However, talking about that, I started my journey in Web3 with Mario, Jason, and all the other guys in the space of creator economy. Okay, and I, because of what I did in Web 2, I had access to a lot of celebrities who I was trying to bring into the space of creator economy, Web 3, and the stuff. I think it's a great idea when it comes to tokenizing not just identity, but what they bring to the table, right? Because what does tokenization stand for, right? Where multiple people can get small little bits and pieces of it. And that is going to keep growing. Since the question was with AI and, or rather generative AI, if I really had a good answer, I don't think I would have been sitting here in this panel, but I would have been actually doing that in the real world. Since I don't have a good answer and I have like 30 seconds to close this, I'm just going to say that in this space of where there was about a year ago, people wanted to fit in blockchain in anything and everything. It is the same thing right now where people want to fit in generative AI into anything and everything. There are few places where it is great, few places it's not really required, right? You can actually use that and I'm specifically talking about generative AI, not plain AI, right? AI is there everywhere right now. We need to live with it and happily live with it. Specifically talking about generative AI, I think the way we are moving ahead and the way we are progressing, there are, since I'm in the space of growth and marketing and partnerships, I think we can use a lot of great marketing materials and onboarding material out of it. We can make it more personalized to the guys who we are speaking with or we are trying to onboard and convert than just using it into tokenizing the real world asset. Because real world asset tokenization is coming and we all need to be prepared for it, thanks to Vara and the other guys who are supporting and framing the legal frame around it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So before I conclude, big round of applause for all the panelists here. Now, if I were to conclude, by laying out my experience with generative AI, because we use it daily. How many of you use ChatGPT? Okay. How many of you have used Midjourney? And some of you have not used FriendStack, so I would advise go home and use it. But if we combine these three, ChatGPT, Midjourney, and FriendStack, then what you potentially see is basically an economy that is completely based on Web3 and AI. And if you combine these three use cases, you can see that where the world is leading now. In future, as I was saying, that this is mostly gamification of work, right? So if you ask somebody using ChatGPT now, if they have used it once, it is rare that they would actually want to do that task on their own next time. If you have a taste of ChatGPT or any AI tool, it's more like playing a game at this time, right? So in my opinion, being from a media background, I mean, we do have a workforce of 100+ people who use ChatGPT and Midjourney on a daily basis. And while we do that, we can see that what basically it can do in coming future. And on this note, we would like to end this panel. Thanks again to all the panelists over here, to all the speakers, and thanks a lot to everyone who listened to us. And I hope from here, there is one key takeaway that we have. Even you all voted for it, right? That AI is going to change the world, for better or worse.